What's up guys, Tommy Bowyer here from Movie Rewind, and today I will be reviewing Casualty Series 23. So without further ado, let's get into it. The 23rd series of Casualty aired for 48 episodes from the 13th of September 2008 until the 1st of August 2009. And I have to say, it is a series which I often gloss over. That's probably because Series 22 was the first full series of Casualty I saw, so it's always going to have a special place in my heart. Series 24 is a really strong series of Casualty. Therefore, I think I just often gloss over Series 23 as, you know, it's okay, but it's nothing stand out. But having rewatched it, it shows how stupid I was when I was 8 years old, because Series 23 has great characters involved in gripping storylines, and in terms of stunt and practical effect work, it just shows why Casualty is some of the best in the business. It was a pleasure to watch Series 23 again. It's an amazing series. There's a lot to talk about in this review, but I want to say it straight from the off. This was a fantastic series of Casualty. I would say the main theme of this series is the idea of the Farmmead estate. Now, the Farmmead estate had been teased throughout Casualty's run, but in this series, they really do develop it further. We see the dynamics of this council estate, how it works, what kind of people are in charge of it, and basically what you find is there's kind of a gang war occurring on the Farmmead estate. We have this drug dealer called Tony Reese, who's basically the toughest guy on Farmmead. He controls everything. He can get away with murder, and that's true because he does kill people during this series. And then, of course, when Tony Reese gets sent to prison, we then have the Malone family come along and try to muscle in on his territory, which I think is great. It really does keep you on the edge of your seat because you're wondering, this Farmmead estate, which you know very little about at the start of this series. As the series goes on, you start to understand the dynamic which occurs on this estate. And I think it's great that several of the characters are involved in storylines which relate to the Farmmead estate. Of course, Big Mac kind of becomes a vigilante at one point, which I thought was great development because he starts out as a very scared person, but then he decides, you know what, no more, I'm going to stand up. And he starts helping out the more vulnerable people on the estate and taking and basically showing all of the gangsters and wannabe tough guys who's boss on that estate, which I think is great. And of course, ambulance technician Curtis Cooper, he is a great character. He was a former gang member until his brother was stabbed. He got sent to prison. And we see now how he's trying to leave that life behind. He's trying to focus on his new relationship with Alice, which is such a beautiful relationship. Those two were so sweet together. But of course, Tony Reese, the former drug dealer who's after Curtis, just keeps pulling him back into that world. And this series starts and ends in such heart-pumping ways. The series opener involves Tess being impaled, and then various members of the ED team led by Charlie go out to try and save her. That has you on the edge of your seat. Tess, of course, at this time was a long-serving character, and I think when you have a long-serving character's life in peril, it is intense because, of course, you want this character who seems like they've been there forever to be all right. So that was really well done to use Tess, because I don't think it would have had the same impact if it just been a character that had been introduced the last series. I don't think that would have worked. Also, the series finale is heartbreaking. Alice and Curtis's wedding day. Curtis is being accused of killing Tony Reese, which he claims he weren't. It was actually the Malones. And eventually, the Malones' mother turns them in. They cause a riot in the ED. And you want Alice and Curtis to be okay because, of course, it's their wedding day. You want them to be safe. But, of course, tragedy strikes as Curtis, trying to protect Alice, throws himself at one of the Malone brothers and gets hurled from the roof and is killed instantly. That was such a tragic way to end this series. It really, really was. It was emotional. Alice was great during this, the scenes in which he dies. It was just such a tragic way for the series to end. And I think it kind of rounded off the Farmmead estate story arc because it doesn't really get picked up on in early Series 24, that's for sure. In terms of the characters, well, the main character, the main man of Series 23 is consultant and clinical lead Nick Jordan. Now, Michael French, as an actor, is outstanding. Nick is a great character. I love the dynamics between him and other members of the ED team. Him and Adam Truman, logheads all the time. That's the classic alpha male relationship, and it works really, really well. Also, like Nick and Zoe together, that's a great relationship. Actually, looking back, you can tell that they have feelings for one another. It starts off as just a casual thing, but you can tell as the series progresses, they do actually like one another. Also, Nick's brain tumour storyline was gripping. I mean, I knew what was going to happen, and I was even on the edge of my seat throughout. It starts off as kind of a mystery. Why has Nick Jordan decided to come to the ED? Of course, he was a high-ranking cardiothoracic surgeon, so why is he now in emergency medicine? And then we slowly learn that he thinks something is wrong. He keeps forgetting words. He keeps blacking out, and he doesn't really know why. And then he learns he has a brain tumour, tries to cover it up, and in the end, he just can't ignore it, and he just decides, you know what, I'm not going to get treatment because I might not be able to be a surgeon. Which at first is like, how arrogant is this man? He thinks that he is so great that he won't even have treatment. But then you learn, actually, being a surgeon is all he's got. He has nothing else. So it's actually quite a tragic story. Other storylines in this series involving characters which I liked. We see consultant Zoe Hannah have to look after a little girl called Charisse at one stage. Her parents are both killed. So Zoe takes on the mantle of being Charisse's kind of foster mother for a while. I really liked that. It kind of saw Zoe in a different light. We saw a more caring and paternal side, and I just really liked it. I was very sad when she had to give Charisse up, because I think Zoe could have made that work. She seemed to really care for Charisse, so that was very sad. We start seeing Ruth and Jay's relationship develop in this series. They have obvious chemistry with one another, and it's great to see how Ruth is just so awkward, because relationships have never been on Ruth's radar. She's always been about putting work first. So I think it's great that once Jay comes along, she decides, you know what, maybe it will be nice to just kind of fall in love for a bit, and I really like that relationship. Other characters we see arriving in Series 23 are the likes of Polly. I love Polly. Polly works really well with Dixie and Jeff. They're a great team. They got great rapport with one another. So yeah, I really do love Polly. We also see certain characters leave this series. We see Abs leave, which of course I thought was done very well. Abs finally gets a happy ending. He goes off with a girl that he really likes, and I think that was a good ending for Abs. He'd been in the series a long time by this point, and you always want to see characters have a happy ending, so it was nice to see Abs get a happy ending. Speaking of how this show deals with departures, and we see it in the likes of when Junior Dr. Toby leaves, as well as when Nurse Kelsey leaves. When they resign, they actually work notices. Now, this is actually a minor point that I have against modern Casualty. The idea that when characters resign, they then leave that day. Now, of course, in the real world, that doesn't happen. You have to work a notice period. When staff nurse Kelsey decides to leave in this series, she says, I'm going to work my four weeks, and then I will leave. And it actually happens. She doesn't depart until 4 episodes later, and I loved her departure. Even though Kelsey wasn't exactly a character that always had massive storylines, we see her with all her friends getting together, wishing her well. We see the former character of Maggie Coldwell return to wish her luck. And I love that kind of departure because it feels realistic, and that's something that Classic Casualty does really, really well. It feels like a workplace. It feels like, you know, this is how it works in the real world. You work notice periods and characters say goodbye. They organise parties and leaving events. So I really, really liked that. I thought that was done really well. In conclusion, Series 23 of Casualty is amazing. Whether it's Nick Jordan's cancer storyline, whether it's the revelation that Jessica Harrison is pregnant with Adam Truman's baby, despite being married with 2 kids, or even if it is the doomed relationship of Alice and Curtis. Series 23 has a lot of variety in it. I like how it works in the series theme of the Farmead estate into several of these characters' storylines really, really well. Series 23 has a lot of great moments in it. It's a very dramatic series, but they never lose sight of what Casualty is. It's a medical drama. There are plenty of medical mysteries throughout this series as well. A lot of stunt work. And a lot of times when you know that the medical researchers for the programme were given basically a free rein to do whatever they like. and that's when Casualty's at its best. So my first assessment when I first saw this series when I was 8 was it was an okay series, not the best but not the worst. Well, having rewatched it, it's an amazing series and there's a lot there to be proud of, and I would highly recommend it. So thanks for watching, guys. I really do hope that you enjoyed my review of Casualty Series 23. Please remember to like, comment and subscribe in order to receive great and maybe even improved quality content in the future. Now, I have just started watching Series 24. So in about 3 or 4 months, I should have watched the whole of Series 24 when I'm not studying or working, and then I will do a review for that. So I hope you look forward to it. I will see you then. See you later.